Okay, so here we are for part 2 of this two-part video series in relation to A Course of Love, and looking at the whole 3 books, particularly from the context of feeling, just to because it's so hard to grasp these 3 books and kind of condense it, that I sometimes like to look at the whole thing from a particular perspective, Christ consciousness, and just gather everything it says about that. So in this instance, I've gathered everything that I feel is poignant to share from what ACOL is saying about feelings. So we now start with my card 10, which is book 2, a treatise on the art of thought. Chapter 1, the first instruction. You are a thinking being. This cannot be denied, nor should it be. Thus, a course that left you with an erroneous impression that relying on feeling alone would complete your learning would in actuality leave your learning incomplete. Without this treatise on the art of thought, too many of you would become muddled in your feelings and know not where to turn to explain the many riddles they would seem at times to represent. I'll try to decide whether to say that as represent or represent because it's both. 1.9. A mind and heart joined in union abolishes the ego. The ego mind was what once. The ego mind was what was once in charge of all your thoughts. Since the ego is incapable of learning, the ego mind had to be circumvented in order for true learning to take place. This is what A Course of Love has accomplished. This learning was accomplished in you, making you the accomplished. Book 3, Epilogue. E20. Do not be afraid now to be who you are. Do not think you need to be something different, something other than you have been. Leave all thinking behind. Leave all thinking behind. Leave all notions of being better, smarter, kinder, more loving behind. Realize that these were all thoughts and notions of becoming. If you hang on to them, your being will not have the chance to realize and make real its being. You will be different only if you allow and will yourself to realize and make real this difference. It is a difference between becoming and being. It is all the difference in the world. It is the difference between separation and differentiation in union and relationship. So to me, that little statement there is the difference between what separation is to us and what I'm reading here is really what's going on, is that the sense of individuality is really just a differentiation in union and relationship. It's not separation, but it's so easy to miss these wee things. Book 3, the dialogue unveiled. U27. Your internal dialogue will change as you discover the place of safety and acceptance within yourself, a place of joining or union with. No longer will you treat yourself to an internal dialogue you would not unleash on another living being. When you quit restricting yourself, you will naturally be kind and loving to yourself. You will feel free and expansive. When you quit denying how you feel, and again, feelings is what the videos are all about. When you quit denying how you feel, relief and gratitude will fill you. When you quit erecting boundaries, you will quit feeling separate. When you quit judging, you will be as at peace with your feelings of sadness and anger as you are with your feelings of joy and harmony. and it's presumably saying that because we're not going to go into judgment about them, which again is back to thinking. No one is asked to be boundaryless, so this is U28. No one is asked to be boundaryless in a fearful environment, but fearfulness will diminish as your internal dialogue adjusts to the new experience. Yet you are asked to discover a fearless environment, an environment in which you feel able to lay aside your fear of being yourself. This may be easy for some, difficult for others. It may be able to take place within a group. It may not. Now is not the time to deny feelings of discomfort raised by the questions listed above, to feel rejected, or to fear rejecting others because you feel them. The first step in the process is honesty. The honesty of accepting how you feel is often a greater revelation to yourself than to others. U30. Once an initial place of safety, where two or more are willing to be clear pools are gathered together, is found, practice begins. And this too will be joyous, but it is a practice. Fear will still rise, but you will be able to reveal your fear. So that's a feeling, obviously. Discomfort will arise, but you will be able to reveal your discomfort. You will willingly be vulnerable, and in your vulnerability will the restrictions, denial, boundaries and judgments of the past be washed away. You will realize how you are used to holding back, and you will begin slowly at first not to hold yourself back. You may begin as fearful of revealing your own truth and wisdom as you are of revealing your fears and hurts, but soon you will be unable to hold back. When this occurs, the universal and the personal meld into a creative bursting forth. U31. This is the work of dialogue. It is the movement and expression of being. It is to be moved and affected. To allow your heart to feel, to open, to cry out, to sing. It is to be inspired and allow your own wisdom and ideas to flow freely, be given voice, be shared. It is to listen as a receptacle, receiving what is poured forth from others without judgment. It is to receive the actual energy of another, to feel the connection, to allow the pouring forth into one pool, and to allow the pool to move you in unforeseen directions. Book 3, The Dialogues of A Course of Love, Day 14, Healing. 14.2. The spacious self, capital S, realizes that the outer world is a protection, and most often a rejection, rather than an extension of what is within. Thus, sickness is a rejection of feelings. All that causes fear and rejection is feelings. All that causes loneliness is rejection of feelings. All that causes violence is rejection of feelings. 14.4. All feelings are accepted as those of the many as well. It is by holding all feelings of others within the spacious self, by not forgetting that the one and the many are the same, by willfully remembering that the feelings of the many can be held and not projected into the world as sickness, violence and so on, that acceptance occurs. It is in accepting all feelings as the feelings of the many that the feelings of others are accepted as one's own and held within the spaciousness of the one self, the whole self. Book 3 again, The Dialogues of A Course of Love, Day 10, Power. Confidence in your feelings, or confidence, as I like to say, to confide in your feelings. Confidence in your feelings will lead to confidence in yourself, confidence in yourself. While you think it is your access to unity that will be the more difficult to achieve and sustain, this will not be the case for most of you, for the simple reason that the certainty that comes from union will seem to come, at least initially, from a place other than the self, capital S. Because certainty seems to come from a place other than or beyond the self of form, you will instinctively have greater trust in it. You will believe it comes from a place other than or beyond the self of form because it comes in the form of certainty. 10.11. What you have trusted in the most is rational thought, and intuition is different from rational thought, as are feelings of all kinds. You think of feelings either as that which comes to you through your five senses or as emotions, and you have not trusted in these feelings as much as you have trusted in rational thought. This lack of trust works both for you and against you now. It works for you in that you do not have to resist and reject an existing trust as you do with the thoughts of the mind you call rational. It works against you because all feelings are capable of providing what you have called intuitive knowledge or insights, and your distrust of this knowledge and insight will need to be overcome. 10 and 12. Feelings come from an innate knowing of the self of form, in short, from the body. The body is the given form, and while it was the perfect vehicle for learning in the time of learning, it is now being transformed into the perfect vehicle for the realization of the elevated self of form, capital S. During this transformation, we work with what is as well as with the new and the forgotten. This is why it has been said that the certainty that comes from access to unity may be less difficult for you to become aware of and accept than the confidence in the self of form that must accompany it. In developing the confidence of the self of form, we work with what has been in a new way. As you all know from the time of learning, it is often more difficult to become adept in doing something in a way different than you have done it before than to do something completely new. This is because old patterns or habits must be done away with before achievement of the new way is possible. 10.13. I don't know when I started. This also relates to our discussions of image versus presence. Now, I like to pull these wee things out. ACOL has got this way of just putting something, just a little snippet in, but that's massive. Image versus presence. That's a big statement about part of our shift from engaging in life from an image of who and what we are to simply being present. But it's just 3 words. There's almost a chapter in those 3 words. 10.13 anyway. This also relates to our discussion of image versus presence and to the image of your personal self that was discussed at the beginning of our dialogue. While you still hold an image of your personal self, you still hold inaccurate ideas about the feelings of the personal self. This is because your image of the personal self is based on the past and the feelings of the past. This is also because your image of the personal self is a mental construct, and not a simple mental construct, but a whole set of thoughts, beliefs, and mental pictures. Pardon me. 14, still 10.14. So again, I've taken a lot out of this chapter. This, what was it, power, I think. day 10, power. So 10:14. Because you believe that your feelings have misled you in the past, you now still doubt your feelings. Because you have doubted yourself in the past, you now still look for reassurances and proof that you are right before you feel confidence and the ability to act. To know before you act is wise, but to think that doubting your feelings or seeking outside assurances of what you know will lead to either confidence or certainty is foolish. 10:15. Pause a moment here and consider our need for a distraction between the certainty you feel from unity and the confidence you need to feel in the self of form. Reflect further on your idea of certainty coming from a place other than the self. Realize in these reflections that you are still reliant on means other than the self, including your image of the state of unity and including your image of me. 10:26. It is highly unlikely that in your image of an ideal self you left much room for feelings of the type you currently experience. This is why we have recently spoken of anger and of those things which you dislike. Why we have spoken in short of the feelings you would think would have no place within the ideal self or the elevated self of form. 10:29. And do you not, when thinking of idolized spiritual leaders, see them as world leaders as well, leaders not only capable but bound to taking a stance against the many situations there are to dislike in the world? Do they not feel for the suffering? Do they not dislike poverty? Are they not called upon at times to take unpopular stand against popular leaders? Do not even your ideas of saints and angels include concepts of their feeling compassion and mercy, and of their acting upon those feelings by championing the cause of good over that of evil, or the powerless over the powerful? Isn't history replete with idols who have done just this? 10:30. I am not calling you to be as these people are or were, or to act as these people have, but I am calling you to acknowledge that feelings are involved at every level of every being you can imagine. Consciousness is about what you are aware of, not about what you think. That's a good one, isn't it? Consciousness is about what you are aware of, not about what you think. And you are very much aware of your feelings. 10:38. As you can see, it is difficult for me, even now, even in this final address to you, as the man Jesus, to speak of feelings without addressing the grand scheme of things. I want to comfort and reassure you in this final message. I want to tell you to be embraced by love and to let all feelings of love flowing through you now find their expression. I desire more than anything your happiness, your peace, and your acceptance of the power that will cause these things to come to be. Yet I know you, and what you want to hear. I know you have long waited for your feelings to be addressed in a more personal way, but please remember that none of the approaches that have been used to address your feelings in the way you might desire have worked. This will work. 10:39. This is the secret of succession. This is the secret of succession, your promised inheritance. This is the gift of love I came to give and give newly now to you. Blessed brother and sister, we feel the same love, the same compassion, the same tenderness for each other and the world. This is unity. This will save us. This will save the world. Getting there. Book 3, The Dialogues of A Course of Love, Day 12. The spacious self joined in relationship. This is tiring. 12:1. Now we listen to feelings. Now we listen to feelings and understand what they have to say to us. Now we listen with a new ear, the ear of the heart. Now we recognise the thoughts that would censor our feelings, calling them selfish, uncaring, or judgmental. We examine, and we realise it is our thoughts and not our feelings that are selfish, uncaring, or judgmental. We realise this because we realise the sacred space we have become. Our space is the space of unity. It is the space of ease because thoughts are no longer allowed their rule. 12.2. Imagine the air around you being visible and you form an invisible space within the visible surroundings. This is the reality of Christ consciousness. Consciousness may seem to be embodied by form, but the reverse is true and always has been true. The body is now ready to know that it is embodied, enclosed, surrounded, taken up by consciousness. It is your feelings that now will be the sense organs of this spaciousness, not feelings of sight or sound, smell or touch, but feelings of love of self. Feelings of love of self are now what hold open the space. 12.4. The space of the one self is everything. Space is neither divided nor separated nor occupied by form. Space is all that is. Christ consciousness is the space of all that is. Navigating this endless space as an expression of love is the simplest thing imaginable. All you must do is listen to yourself. Yourself is now a feeling, conscious space, unhindered by any obstacles of form. Oh, 2 short ones to go. Book 1, A Course of Love, Chapter 13, Observation and Experience. 13.1. You will never fully understand what unity means, but you will come to feel what unity means, and this I promise you. This is what we work toward in this course, for once you have experienced the feeling of unity, you will need no understanding of it. And then finally, again, Book 1 ACOL, Chapter 27, Being, 27.20. How will you know when you have achieved the state of grace in which you are created, were created, and that you are living in relationship? You will know by the certainty you feel. So that completes the work I've been doing. I'm not saying that's the all and end and everything of it. In my understanding, but I have enjoyed kind of visiting the whole 3 books from a specific viewpoint, that of feeling feelings. And for me, it's been very informative. So hopefully you take something from it. Maybe I should go back in again and redo it from the perspective of thinking. So go back into my Kindle, type in thinking, see what it all brings up, and see what happens. So I may go there next.